of what Shinjin is, what Jodo Shinshu is, what Buddhism is about. And so I appreciate all the work that those who have studied, talked about, written about all of these ideas in Buddhism and in Jodo Shinshu. Certainly, I would not have been able to gain what little understanding I have, if not for the work of others. But here Shinran is saying, vow of the Tathagata destroys our wisdom and foolishness. That at some point, the focus on changes, and it changes from trying to understand to the point at which we try to experience. And that separation is kind of false as well. But when we think about things in this way, when we separate what we are trying to understand and what we are experiencing, this too is something that can be a source of difficulties that we set these things on. So it kind of, at some point, we just kind of go, and they'll just be able to experience what the joy of what Shinran and what the Nembutsu is about. And so I want to share another passage that this also comes from the Kyogyo Shinshu, the chapter on Shinjin. This is Shinran referring to the work of Shantao, one of the 7 patriarchs of Jodo Shinshu. And in this passage that Shinran references, Shantao writes, to make a selection of essential passages from the collection of liturgical passages. Second of the 3 minds is deep mind, which is true and real Shinjin. And so second of the 3 minds is deep mind, which is true and real Shinjin. One truly knows oneself to be a foolish being full of blind passions, with scant roots of good, transmigrating in the 3 realms and unable to emerge from this burning house. And further, one truly knows now, without so much as a single thought of doubt, that Amida's universal primal vow decisively enables all to attain birth, including those who say the name even down to 10 times, even but hear it. Hence it is called deep mind. When people have been able to hear the name of Amida Buddha, rejoice and attain the mind that is single, and they will attain birth in the Pure Land. So in this passage, and that's kind of a lot of words, Shinran is referencing Shantao. And Shantao is saying that there is this deep mind which is true and real Shinjin. And Shinjin is made up of 2 parts. That which recognizes, acknowledges my foolishness, right? And the other part to this aspect of Shinjin is a mind that recognizes the absolute assurance of Amida Buddha. So these 2 things make up Shinjin. And again, Shinjin is kind of this essential idea in Jodo Shinshu. Shinran writes a full chapter on Shinjin in his major work, the Kyogyo Shinshu. So here, Shinran is referencing Shantao, who's saying that this Shinjin is made up of 2 parts, right? This absolute assurance of Amida Buddha and my absolute inability to do anything that would kind of resolve these difficulties that I am experiencing. These are the 2 parts of this, right? And it's a dynamic relationship between my recognizing my foolishness and also the assurance of Amida Buddha. This assurance of Amida Buddha allows me to look more carefully at this foolish self, right? Allows me to begin to see who I truly am. That the wisdom and foolishness are kind of broken down, no more. That Amida Buddha's vow, that assurance of Amida Buddha, just allows me to see myself as I am. That I am, as I am, already assured, affirmed of the resolution of difficulties. At this point of our understanding, of Jodo Shinshu, it becomes simply a matter of deepening this appreciation, deepening this understanding and experience of my foolishness and the assurance of Amida Buddha. The other couple of weeks ago, we had a chance to, ministers of the Coastal District had a chance to spend some time with Dr. Reverend Miyaji of the Southern Alameda Buddhist Temple. And he was our speaker for our summer Fuken. And we just got a chance to spend a couple of days with him. And at that time, actually, we were driving back. And I realized how bad my hearing is when we were traveling in the car. Mukujima Sensei was driving. Miyaji Sensei was sitting in the front seat. Mikami Sensei was sitting in the back seat, and I was sitting in the back seat. And I could see that Mukujima Sensei and Miyaji Sensei were having this conversation. And then, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. And they were talking and they were having this conversation. And then I realized that Mikami Sensei could actually hear what they were talking about. And I thought, well, wait a minute, I can't make out anything they're saying. And Mikami Sensei is laughing. Oh yeah, and that's right. Yeah, she's participating in a conversation from the back seat, and I couldn't hear a thing. So I had to say, okay, I'm not being rude by not participating in the conversation. I just can't hear you. So I have to go get my hearing tested again, and maybe start to put something, get some aid to hear conversations. But anyway, and so as we were coming back, and we stopped by, we made an important stop on the way back. We stopped at 805 Brewery. It's right on the road, and we took a detour and we stopped. Well, actually, it wasn't much of a detour; it was a stop. But so one of the things that this conversation that I got involved with, and while we were at a stop, I think we stopped at Starbucks to kind of get something to refresh ourselves. And I was talking with Miyaji Sensei, and he said, so, and I said that, Jodo Shinshu, like all Buddhism, at its core is about the resolution of difficulties. And so, Four Noble Truths, and we talk about the Eightfold Path. So I was kind of sharing with him my present understanding of how the Eightfold Path and the Four Noble Truths, that this is one thing, right? That the Eightfold Path is the practices that lead to the cultivation of the mind that sees things as they are. So again, as a reminder, as a kind of refresher, Four Noble Truths. First of the Four Noble Truths, we experience difficulties. The second of the Four Noble Truths, these difficulties result from our tendency to see the world through our preferences, our likes and dislikes. The third of the Four Noble Truths is that we don't have to remain like that. We can experience enlightenment, nirvana. That's what Buddhism is about, the resolution of difficulties. And the fourth of the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, is a means to attain that, cultivate that mind that simply sees things as they are. So I said to Miyaji Sensei that for me, that Eightfold Path, you just throw it out. And so he asked, so what do you use? What do you put in place? So, I kind of think of that Eightfold Path being thrown out as, and don't quote me on this, but it's kind of like what Shinran, when Shinran left Hiezan, that was not working. Right? That was, at least as he perceived not only what was going on around him, the inconsistencies of the practices that were going unfulfilled, and his own limitations, that he left to find something that would work. So in a way, that was, for me, kind of throwing out this Eightfold Path. It wasn't working. And so Miyaji Sensei asked me, so what do you substitute then for that? So I thought that is Nishu Jinshin. Nishu Jinshin allows me to begin to see things as I am, allows me because of the assurance of Amida Buddha, and this isn't in the Eightfold Path, right? This is what Shinran introduces, that Amida Buddha's assurance allows me to see myself as I am. So the world isn't transformed. The world isn't transformed. I am transformed. I am this foolish being who is now assured. I recognize that this foolish being assured of the eventual resolution of difficulties, that cultivates the mind that begins to see things as they are. And so I was telling him that in August, when is Sasaki Sensei coming? 27 August. So Sasaki Sensei is a IMOP student. IMOP? Yeah, student. So he's a International Minister Orientation Program participant. And in a regular year, we might have 2 or 3 students. This year, we're having just Sasaki Sensei coming to participate in this IMOP program in anticipation of his coming to the BCA, being assigned to the Buddhist Churches of America. So it's a wonderful thing that he's making this decision to join us here in the Buddhist Churches of America. But what's different about Sasaki Sensei, and you will all get a chance to meet Sasaki Sensei because we'll have him as a Sunday morning speaker. But following that Sunday morning speaker, Steve Onishi will have a chance to talk to him, and then I'll have a chance to talk to him as well. Sasaki Sensei is a professor at Ryudai, huh? And I'm looking at Mikami Sensei because she's much more familiar with all of this that is going on in the Honganji. But Sasaki Sensei is, what's that called? It Shukyo? Yeah, so he has a title that recognizes his authority and expertise in Jodo Shinshu. And he is like a kangaku, an arbiter if there are controversy within the Honganji. And I was asking Miyaji Sensei about this as well. How does this start? How do we get this kind of kangaku structure? And it goes back to Sango Akuran, which is a disagreement within the Honganji that occurred in the early 1800s. Before that Sango Akuran, there was one individual that was settled differences to determine what was within and what was outside. And after the Sango Akuran, there was this kangaku that began to be established, kind of like a panel of scholars that would be would participate and try to determine if there was something that was not quite in Jodo Shinshu. And so this Sasaki Sensei is at that level of understanding and expertise. And he's coming, so we're very fortunate that he's coming to join us here in the BCA. And I'm supposed to talk to him about Jodo Shinshu. This is kind of, I think, upside down. I'm sure I'll be learning a great deal from him. So Miyaji Sensei was telling me, I'll be interested in your discussion with Sasaki Sensei. Yeah, me too. I'm interested too. So after Sasaki Sensei, if you don't see me anymore, then I may have kind of crossed some line at some point. But I would be interested in getting his understanding of Nishu Jinshin and his relationship to the Eightfold Path, Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths is so central, right? And Shinjin is so central to Jodo Shinshu. Four Noble Truths central to Buddhism as a whole. We are Buddhists as Jodo Shinshu, but for us to cultivate that mind that sees things as they are, Shinran recognized how impossible it is to do that. But we're not at a loss. We are assured. And that assurance of Amida Buddha allows us to really fathom the depth of that foolishness. So in this first paragraph that I wrote, the Tathagata's vow destroys the poisons of our wisdom and foolishness. It's a poison when we become so enamored with our knowledge and our understanding. It's not to say that understanding is wrong. To have that understanding. Again, I certainly benefit from those who have studied and written. I would not be able to read any of this, gain any of, work through any of this, were it not for the scholars and teachers who spent the time to study and write and translate. And it's easy for me now. I can go to a written material and see what Shinan wrote about. But the foolishness and the wisdom that we hold on to sometimes can get in the way of simply being able to appreciate the assurance of Amida Buddha and be able to enjoy the life that is assured by Amida Buddha, a life of gratitude and appreciation. Whether we understand or not, we simply need to remember that we are, as we are, assured of the eventual experience of enlightenment, the eventual resolution of difficulties. Sometimes we are so, and it's important that we have these dialogues, that we have these conversations, because it helps us to clarify what is taking place in our lives. Okay, so are there any questions? I can do this because I understand we're not online. Oh, we are. Okay. Yes. He studied hard. So the question, how did he get to that level? Yeah, because he studied hard. I'm not sure what line. Often these scholars have a kind of a lineage of teachers that kind of trace back through various, and these are contemporaries, but his teacher may have studied with somebody else who was well known, and that teacher may have studied with somebody else. So there's kind of a lineage, but yeah, he studied hard. That's how he got there, and that's why I'm not there. I'm here. He's like maybe early 60s. Yeah, young, right? Young whippersnapper. But, you know, very serious in his study and his approach to the academics of Jodo Shinshu. Not really, huh? Yeah, not really. So it's going to be fun talking with Sasaki Sensei. I was telling Miyaji Sensei while we were in retreat that, and our retreat was at the San Luis Obispo temple, that many years ago, his grandfather, and if you read the Wheel of Dharma, I think he wrote something about his grandfather in the Wheel of Dharma, the last Wheel of Dharma. But many years ago, we were on, it might have been a minister's retreat in San Luis Obispo. And his grandfather was there. This is his grandfather. Now, Miyaji Sensei's grandfather was a kangaku. He was actually a part of this panel that would review, a group of people that were recognized as authority in Jodo Shinshu. And at that time, when we were at this retreat, and that's why I'm here, because I pressed Haji Sensei. I said, is there anyone outside of the vow of Amida Buddha? Is there anyone outside of the vow of Amida Buddha? So that, there's somebody out here, for some reason, not able to benefit from the vow of Amida Buddha. Is there anybody like that who is outside the vow of Amida Buddha? And he kept hedging, and I kept pressing. The poor man, he must have been like this tall. But I kept pressing, and he finally said, no, there's no one outside the vow of Amida Buddha. And as we read this, right, that's the intent, in a sense, of Amida Buddha, to, as a bodhisattva, as the bodhisattva Dharmakara, he was intent on finding a way that through which everyone could be free from the difficulties that characterize our existence. So Meiji Sensei's grandfather, this Takashi Miyaji, his grandfather, he's a son of Nobuo Miyaji, and nephew of Akio Miyaji. Akio Miyaji was a minister at the Orange County Buddhist Temple for many years. And Nobuo Miyaji, I think his last assignment was at Rinban of Fresno Buddhist Temple. Yeah, Miyaji Sensei, Kangaku. Other questions? Anything else? Yes. What if? Yeah, so Nishu Jinshin, the two aspects of Shinjin. One is that I recognize that I am absolutely incapable of attaining enlightenment. Absolutely incapable. That I am absolutely incapable. The other is that I am absolutely assured by Amida Buddha of my enlightenment. So that's the two aspects. But they're not separate. They're in a relationship. I think they're in a relationship with each other. The assurance of Amida Buddha allows me to see myself more openly. I don't have to, as a foolish being, I don't have to kind of try and make something of that foolish being, try to hide it or try to change it or do anything with that foolish being. I don't have to continue to kind of be closed about that foolishness, whether to others or to myself. No longer need to be closed. As I understand the assurance of Amida Buddha, that allows me to see myself as I am, in all of that foolishness, that it's okay, that in fact, that it is this foolish being that the assurance of Amida Buddha affirms and assures. It's like the question to Miyaji Sensei, is anybody outside of that assurance of Amida Buddha? And there is no one that is outside. There is in this, which I read in the second passage that I wrote, that I read, there is this line. And further, one truly knows now, without so much as a single thought of doubt, that Amida's universal primal vow decisively enables all to attain birth, including those who say the name even down to 10 times, or even but hear it. So even if you just hear it, you are assured. That kind of caught my attention this morning as I was reading hear it, you then begin to look at yourself. This Nishu Jinshin, the assurance of Amida Buddha, the foolish being that I am, transformed. I am, that is the term tenzuru, I am transformed. If I don't hear it, if I don't know of it, I am not transformed. I am not changed. However, I am still assured of the resolution of difficulties. It's kind of like, you could have a rock, a chunk of coal that has been under pressure for millions of years. That chunk of coal is transformed into a dense carbon diamond, right? Until that diamond is found and taken out and was worked with, it remains just a chunk of coal. But it doesn't, it's still the same. But it hasn't been worked with. It's still the same. It's still that same chunk of coal that has the potential to become this diamond. Whether I understand the assurance of Amida Buddha or not, I am still like that chunk of coal. It's still moving towards whatever it's going to move towards. But as I hear and think about, I begin to be transformed into that, the next thing in that stage of the diamond. So, two aspects of Shinjin, Nishu Jinshin, two aspects. The assurance, absolute assurance of Amida Buddha, the absolute recognition of my inability to attain enlightenment. Other questions? Okay. I think you've had enough. Thank you very much for being here this morning, again, risking your lives over 10 provinces to be here and join us for this morning. You know, during our service, there has been no forklifts moving around outside. Yeah, so normally, once we finish at 11, all the forklifts will start up again. But because of the service, they stopped all of that was going on outside. You can hear them? Oh, maybe I have to go get my ears checked. But they're on the other side, right? They're not going back and forth on the street. So, yeah. Well, there goes my thought. But thank you very much, everyone. If you please join in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. We will continue.
Thank you, Rinban, for a very lively and informative Dharma talk. Please rise now for Gatha Ondokusan II, which is on page 76 in this book.
Yorai hai no ondokusan miyoko ni shite o suru beshi 신슈 지식이노 오 나기제모 샤스 대시 나모 아미다부츠 나모 아미다부츠 나모 아미다부츠 나모 아미다부츠. Thank you. Please be seated.
This will conclude the service. Are there any announcements?
Good morning, Michael Jones, and we will be having this year again our Minamoto booth, Village for Everyone booth. We'll be joined by the Billy DeFrank Center and San Jose P-Flag as well, and we'll have information on the Los Angeles Okaeri event that'll be coming up in the fall. So we could use some volunteers for that as well. It'll be a booth right out here in front. So please join us and take a look at what we have to offer. And then we'll also be having we're going to change the format a little bit of our Buddhism 101 courses during the Open Temple of Obon. And we are hoping to put together a information and discussion group for July 13th, which is a Thursday evening at 7 o'clock in person here. And we'll try to do online as well. So a lot of things going on to try to get more discussion like we had this morning. I was telling Rinban, I just had a discussion yesterday with Reverend Amy Umezu about a lot of these topics of Shinjin and so on. And one of the topics we covered was, is anyone outside Amida's vow, right? And her answer was a little different. So it was interesting. So we'll be interested in Reverend Sasaki's views on things, and we could also have more discussion. If you like these kind of discussions, by the way, we do have a Dharma study class that meets the second and fourth Tuesdays of each month at 7 p.m. Right now, we're doing it over Zoom, but please let us know. And if you're interested, we can certainly invite you to that, and you can join in those discussions as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. Next week, of course, is Obon, so there's no service, but the temple will be open if you want to come in. And as Michael said, there's going to be a new format, more of some presentations and questions and answers. And then it'll be followed up, as he said, by a session on July 13th. So we're trying to get more opportunities for, Buddhist education, for just getting together and talking about the Dharma. So we look forward to that. Yep. Hatsubon, the next weekend is then Hatsubon service is the next Saturday, which is, I believe the 15th, 5 p.m. That's for people who have lost loved ones in the past year. And then the following day, Sunday, July 16th, we'll have our Obon service, which would be 10 a.m. here. That's it. So let's just close with another gasho. Namami no. Please come up and do a shoko.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, we have refreshments, by the way, again in the multi-purpose room. So please join us.
I said, good morning. Where to, for what purpose? Alright. Good morning. Right through. Good morning. Not without controversy.
All around.
Yeah, join us for refreshments. Hi, good morning, Lance. I hope I can learn a little bit. That's a good thing about Joel Shinju. You think you don't remember, you say okay. Thank you.